Good day, this is Donna from DonnaTCrafting, and welcome to the Altenew Educator Certification Program Video Hop. The theme for this hop is Harvest Hues. Now, when I was thinking of Harvest Hues, I was thinking of my mums from last year, which were oranges, yellows, and burgundies, and they ended up being just beautiful. And I found this set that I had called Daring Dahlias. This set has a stamp set, a die that cuts out the big image, a layering stencil set, and then dies that will cut the pieces of the flowers for the larger flower on the stamp. So it will build that flower. So I'm going to use that set. I'm also going to use geometric flowers. I'm going to use one stamp out of here to add some interest to the Build-A-Flower. And then you'll see I'm going to use garden trellis cover die. So with that, let's get started. I went ahead and I stamped out my image, and I went ahead and did all the layering stencil ahead of time. I did all of the layers of the orange in Sun-Kissed, Orange Cream, and Fire Brick. I did the yellows in, I don't have Altenew yellows at this time, so I do Simon Hurley Shooting Star and Slippery When Wet, and then added Pumpkin Pie as the last layer for that. And then I did Olive and Moss for the leaves, and for the big image I used Rhodolite, but I only did the first layer on the stencil. I did not do the other layers because we're going to put our built-up flower on top of that. So I just wanted the one layer. I did have to do some masking during this stenciling to keep the colors separate, like between the oranges and the Rhodolite. So now I'm going to go over how we did this Build-A-Flower. You can see the layering guide shows there's 8 colors, and then what I did is I took the Rhodolite and I swiped it on some cardstock to make myself a Rhodolite colored cardstock. And then I cut down the 8 images, and I'm going for something like this. This one is done with the white geometric flower images on it, but we're going to use some gold. And as you see, I had to make some adjustments as we go along. So I've already cut these. I've got them broken down between the odd layers and the even layers. I've already used my markers on the even layers, and I need to go through and do them on the odd layers. The odd layers, the odd numbered layers, are the ones that I'm going to be adding the gold geometric shapes to. But first I want to add just a little bit of flick of color. I'm going to use the Altenew Artist Markers in Cosmic Berry, and then come back with a little bit of Grapevine, not going out quite as far with the Grapevine. I'm just adding this flicks of color. They don't have to be added underneath the gold images, but I think just adding some different depths of color in here gives it a little more interest. Otherwise, the leaves look a little bit flat. So I did the ones the even colored ones that won't get the gold pigment, but now I'm going to go through and just add this to the odd numbered leaves. And I'm just adding a little bit at a time, not a whole lot, not going all the way out to the edge, just going a little bit from the center, about 2/3 of the way out with the Cosmic Berry, and then adding a little bit of Grapevine. Once this is done, I'm going to get my Misty. I'm going to take my bigger image to start with, and I'm going to line it up with this kind of flower-looking item on the geometric flowers. I think they look like spirographs. I'm going to take that one, and I'm going to put that over my image and lay it down, and then lay it on the Misty, pull the lid over it, and pull it up. It's still going to pull up on the flower just because the way stamps stick to this, but at least I have a general idea of where to put it, and then I can just adjust to make sure that it lines up with this flower. After I get it adjusted, I'm going to bring in some gold pigment ink and add that on top of this flower. As you'll see, it doesn't turn out quite as bright as I had hoped. I think I needed to re-ink my pigment pad, plus it was a darker gold pigment as well. So I went ahead and did all the odd numbered layers in this, but in the end, when you see the final project, you'll see I came back with a gold paint pen and just drew over those lines that had been stamped on there. You could also emboss with a gold or you could get a brighter gold pigment that had more ink in it than mine did at this point. I just didn't want it quite as subtle as this was turning out, so I will come back and add that later. Once I have that stamped, I'm going to layer up my flower. I'm going to start with layer 1, glue layer 2 on top of it, following my layering guide, lining up my arrows that are my guides to make sure that the leaves are headed all in the right direction. I will layer those up until you get to the final layer, and then that will cover up that arrow, and it lines up. It shows on the layering guide where that can line up at. Once I have this all in place, I am going to hold it together in the center. That's where I was doing my gluing, just so that it all adheres well. And I'm going to start kind of turning the leaves. So I'm just going to kind of pull up on the leaves and kind of roll it a little bit. Not a lot, but giving it a little bit of curve to those leaves so they will sit up and look a little more like a flower rather than being really flat. Now, if you're mailing this, it may flatten some in the mail, or you could just hand deliver it, or you could put it in a bubble mailer, something to, you could also put some foam tape under these leaves if you really wanted them to stand up and make sure that they don't flatten out. I just add a little bit of lift to them, and then it kind of pops off of your card that way. So I just take my fingers and kind of just roll them a little bit. Not a whole lot so that you're, pressing the paper, but just a little bit. After I've rolled them, I'm going to kind of lay it out on my stamped image. I have to adjust my leaves just a little bit. A couple needed to be adjusted. And then I can glue it in the center. Since I put color on that image, on the original stamped image, if any don't line up and that image kind of sticks out at the bottom, it just looks like another layer of leaves, which is perfectly fine. It makes it just look like it has another layer underneath. And that's one of the reasons that I did add that at the beginning. And then you have a beautiful image. Next, I am going to take that trellis. I cut out that cover die. I'm going to put that on a piece of heavy white cardstock, size 4 by 5 1/4. I'm taking my pumpkin pie ink, and I'm just going to use my cover die that I cut out to stencil on this piece of paper. I'm going to be darker in the middle and just work my way out to the end so that it's actually white on the outside edges. It just lightens as it goes out to that. I want this to be a little bit of a background for my stamped image, so I am adding the pumpkin pie ink onto this cardstock to give it a little nice fall background to lay the image on top of. Once that is done, I am going to figure out how I want to lay out my flowers. I need to consider where I want to put my sentiment. I turn my flowers so that my sentiment can go in the top right. And then I was going to glue my flowers onto this and realized I probably should stamp my sentiment first. So instead, I added my cardstock onto an A2 panel in craft. So I just add that on so you have a little bit of craft as the outer edge. And then I will take that panel, once it's adhered, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment. My sentiment that I used is "Thank you for all you do" from the stamp set, and I did that in pumpkin pie. After that is stamped, I am going to now adhere my flower image onto this. Again, I already lined it up so that we have that little bit of area at the top that says "Thank you for all you do." And you can see that my bigger flower kind of pops up a little bit since we have it layered, and then we added a little bit of depth with rolling those leaves a little bit. My last step is I'm going to add some crystals to this. I'm going to use crystals in the color of topaz. And I'm just going to add a couple around the image. I think I'll add 3 at the top, 1 next to the sentiment, 2 down closer to the image, and then a couple on the left side towards the bottom. I will add a couple there. As I finish, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and like this video, and be sure to leave a comment, as well as leaving comments along all the stops on the video hop. Altenew is giving away some generous prizes, and we'll be choosing from the comments at each of the videos along the video hop. Now, as I look at the final project, you can see it here, and then in the photo that I'm going to show, you can see where I came back and I took an acrylic paint pen and traced over those gold lines to make them pop a little more. Thanks for visiting, and have a great day.